What if everything separating you from the financial life you want comes down to one decision, not 100, and you have been avoiding it without knowing it had a name? Most people spend years optimizing the wrong things. More income, better budgets, smarter investments. None of it works until this one decision is made first. Marcus Aurelius lived by it completely. It governed every resource he controlled. When you understand what it is, the reason you have been stuck will become the most obvious thing you have ever seen. Asterisk before this video ends, you will know the exact name of the one decision that every person who has ever built lasting wealth made first, and why every strategy you have tried without it was always going to fail. Asterisk the decision has a name. It is called the commitment to ownership. Not ownership of property, not ownership of assets, not yet. Ownership of outcome. The decision, made once and practiced daily, to accept complete and unconditional responsibility for your financial reality, with no exceptions, no qualifications, and no external conditions required before it begins. That is the decision. And before you move past it, understand what it actually means, because most people read that and believe they already live it. They do not. Here is what avoiding it looks like on an ordinary Thursday. You check your bank balance. It is lower than you wanted it to be. Something tightened in your chest. Familiar, unwelcome. You run through the reasons quickly, almost automatically. The bills that came at the wrong time. The cost of living that keeps climbing. The job that does not pay what it should. The economy. The timing. The circumstances that are, somehow, always slightly working against you. You close the app. You tell yourself, it will be different when something changes. And then you go about your day, waiting for the something to change. This is not pessimism. It is not laziness. From the inside it feels like realism, like seeing clearly. The bills are real. The cost of living is real. The underpayment is real. Every single reason you named is factually accurate. And that is precisely why this pattern is so lethal. Because it is built entirely on things that are true. You are not lying to yourself. You are simply choosing which truths to organize your life around. The financial cost of this choice compounds invisibly. A person who attributes their financial position primarily to external conditions will make fundamentally different decisions than a person who owns their outcome completely. The first person waits for conditions to improve before acting. The second person acts and improves the conditions over 5 years. That difference in posture does not produce a slightly better result. It produces a different life. Studies on income mobility consistently show that the single greatest predictor of financial improvement is not education level, starting income, or inherited advantage. It is the degree to which a person believes their actions determine their outcomes. The psychological term is internal locus of control. The practical term is ownership. And most people earning under $45,000 have been culturally trained away from it since childhood. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. Asterisk. Let us calculate what avoiding this decision actually costs. Not philosophically, but in money and years. A person who has not made the commitment to ownership will, on average, spend between 7 and 12 years in a financial holding pattern, not declining dramatically, not advancing meaningfully, holding, stable enough to not feel crisis, and stable enough to never feel free. The salary increases incrementally, the expenses expand to match, the savings grow slowly enough that the number never feels real. The financial life stays approximately where it started, dressed in slightly better circumstances, but structurally identical. 7 to 12 years, not of poverty, of stasis. And stasis at 28, becomes stasis at 35, becomes stasis at 42, before the weight of it becomes impossible to ignore. Now run the contrast with the person who made the decision. Not a person born into wealth, not someone who got lucky. A person who, at some specific moment, sometimes dramatic, sometimes completely quiet, decided that their financial life was theirs to build and stopped waiting for external permission to begin. That person, operating on the same income, in the same economy, with the same starting resources, begins making categorically different choices within months of that decision, not because their circumstances changed, because their relationship to their circumstances changed. They stop asking what they can afford and start asking what they are building toward. They stop spending what remains after obligations and start protecting what builds the future first. The financial results over a decade are not marginally better, they are structurally different. Marcus Aurelius held a principle about this that governed everything he controlled. And he controlled an empire. He did not believe that circumstances created character. He believed that character confronted circumstances, that the external world was the arena, not the author, of a person's outcome. He returned to this belief daily, not because it was comfortable, because it was operational. It was the foundation on which every other decision about resources, time, and power was built. Without it, every strategy collapses back into waiting. With it, every strategy becomes executable. If nobody has ever explained it to you this way before, this channel exists for exactly that reason. Stay with me. Here is the part that most people cannot sit with. The commitment to ownership does not ask whether the external conditions are fair. It does not require that the system be just, that the opportunity be equal, or that the starting line be level. It asks none of that. It simply asks, given what is true, given what exists, given the actual resources and constraints in front of you right now, what are you going to build? It does not excuse the unfairness. It refuses to be stopped by it. That refusal is not available to the person still negotiating with external conditions. And most people are still negotiating. They are waiting for the economy to cooperate, for the employer to recognize them, for the timing to improve, for the circumstances to create an opening wide enough that moving through it feels safe. The opening does not come first. The decision comes first. And the decision is the thing you have been postponing. You are not behind because the world failed you. You are behind because the decision has not been made. And every day it is not made is another day. The gap between where you are and where you intended to be quietly widens. Most people stop exactly here. That is the entire problem. Asterisk. There is one thing to do, not a system, not a framework. One act that makes the decision real. Write down the number, not a goal, not an aspiration. The specific financial number that represents the life you are building toward, not the dream number. The operational number, the monthly income that covers your obligations, builds your savings, and gives you the margin to breathe without counting. Write it down. Put a date next to it, not a wish date, a committed date. The date by which you, operating as the sole architect of your financial outcome, intend to reach it. This single act separates the person who has made the commitment to ownership from the person who is still considering it, because a person who believes their outcome is largely determined by external forces does not write the number down. There is no point. The number depends on things they cannot control. But a person who has made the decision, who has accepted unconditional responsibility for their financial reality, writes the number, because the number is now a contract between them and the outcome they are building, witnessed by no one but themselves, and binding precisely because of that. Marcus Aurelius practiced this in a form that went beyond numbers. Every morning, before anything else arrived, he would write, not journal entries, instructions, to himself, from himself, specific, operational reminders of what he was building, what he was refusing, and what the day was for. He was not reflecting. He was committing, recommitting, daily, because he understood that the decision to own your outcome is not made once. It is made every morning, against the gravitational pull of every excuse and external condition that will arise by noon. You do not need to write meditations. You need the number, on paper, in your handwriting, with a date, and then you need to look at it every morning before. The day can offer you reasons why it is impossible. The tone of everything changes here, because the number does something to the mind that intention alone cannot do. It makes the future concrete. Concrete things can be planned for. Concrete things generate decisions. A person with a number and a date looks at a discretionary expense differently than a person with a vague desire for more. They look at their time differently, their energy differently, their skills differently, not because they became more disciplined overnight, because the target became real, and real targets produce real movement. This is not motivation. Motivation fades. This is architecture, the structure of a life that has been decided upon and is now being built, one operational choice at a time, on the foundation of a single decision that finally has a name. The one decision does not guarantee the outcome. Nothing does, but it is the only condition under which any strategy, any habit, any investment, any income increase can actually compound into the life you have been describing to yourself for years. Without it, everything else is optimization on top of a foundation that was never laid. The foundation is the decision. The decision is ownership, and ownership begins the moment you stop waiting and write the number down. **. Everything separating you from the financial life you want comes down to one decision. That was the opening. You heard it as a promise. Now you hear it as a fact. Not 100 decisions, not a better strategy, not more income or a smarter budget or a more favorable moment in time. One decision, the commitment to ownership, made without conditions, without waiting for external circumstances to justify it, without requiring that the world be fair before you begin building inside it. Most people will hear this and feel it land. They will feel the truth of it. Specific, uncomfortable, impossible to argue with, and then they will close this video and return to the same holding pattern, not because they are weak, because the decision is harder than it sounds, because ownership means there is no one left to blame if it does not work. And for most people, the protection of having someone to blame is worth more than the freedom that comes from releasing it. You now know what the decision is. You know its name. You know what it costs to avoid it, and what it produces when it is made. What happens next is entirely yours. The wall sentence is this: every strategy you have ever tried has failed for the same reason. You were optimizing a life you had not yet decided to own. Asterisk if you are honest about it. Not how you want to see yourself, but how your actual decisions over the last 6 months reveal you. Are you operating as the owner of your financial outcome, or as someone still waiting for conditions to improve before the real building begins? Write what you actually see, not what you hope is true, what the evidence shows, because the answer is the starting point, and it is more valuable than any strategy. Asterisk Marcus Aurelius did not write meditations for the world. He wrote it for himself. A private reminder to stay sharp, stay disciplined, and never become comfortable. If this video found you today, it was not by accident. The question is what you do next. I am Ghost Millionaire, and I will see you in the next one.